It's the Old Pro, Michael Harmon from theoldprostable.com, and we've got a chat session today with my 30-year-old dear old friend. He's a young guy still, though. Justin Tupper from Beaufort, South Carolina, now Orlando. And we are in beautiful Blowing Rock, North Carolina, not far from my home at Beech Mountain. And I'm thrilled to have you today, big guy.
It's a pleasure,
Delightful.
my friend. Absolutely.
A wonderful career. I've known him since he was 17 or 18, we think.
Yeah.
It goes back a long ways. Easily the youngest active member at Secession ever. There's been a few members buy their kids' membership, but they weren't active.
No.
And now, as many of you know that follow golf, Justin has done a spectacular job in the golf realm with the development and creating Revolution Golf, which was subsequently sold to Golf Channel. And now you are a VP at the Golf Channel and affiliated with NBC.
Yeah.
High golf IQ here. Has traveled the world. We've traveled the world
We have.
together, and he feels like a son almost. In all the time we spent together, my 30-plus years at Secession, he was there, and just so proud of him, and just really elated to have you here with us, and appreciate you taking the time on your little vacation while you're here. Hopefully we get him up here full time at some point.
Absolutely.
Or at least for the summer months. I know he's not a snowbird, I don't think.
That's right.
So let's, you grew up in Beaufort.
I
Tell
did.
me about the early days, what you remember about the earliest of days, because you were there before the golf course even opened.
You know, I was there before the golf course opened. If you remember, my dad did the closing of the property.
Yeah.
My dad was at the first Blue Gray dinner at Dawtaw.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
12 people.
Yeah.
12 people.
Dad was there, and I remember as a young fellow
That's a good one.
hearing about Secession, and the first time I saw the logo, this is a real pisser, was on Kevin King was playing in the Heritage. Do you remember that?
Sure.
And he had an old leather, like Jones heavy leather bag. Whoever his caddy was, he probably didn't pay enough. And it had the Secession logo. Right. It had the Secession logo on it.
Taking
And
a shot at you guys.
exactly. His Secession logo on it. And I remember asking my dad, what is that? And he said, that's that golf club over on Flora Trask property on Gibbs Island that they're developing. And I remember thinking, well, that's really cool. And then when I was maybe 16 years old, I met Mike Ayer, who had a place at Dawtaw. And I remember meeting Mike and playing some golf with him. And I mean,
You were in high school.
I was in high school. Bill Hall, who was the pro there at the time, was so good to me. I mean, I sit here and, you know, not to get ahead, but I reflect all the time about where I am and my career and my path and life in general. And I think back in the crux of the passion for the game, for me, came from you guys, the club pros who were so incredibly influential, gracious, thoughtful, gave me the ability to love the game on a huge level. And it started in the bag room at Dawtaw, like literally with Bill Hall and meeting Mike Ayer and learning a little bit more about Secession, and then further down the road, you know, meeting you and all your staffs that have always been at Secession. They've been like family. They've been people that have encouraged me to play, that have supported me, and God, it goes on and on and on. But I can unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, say that I wouldn't have a career in the golf business if it wasn't to Secession Golf Club and the pros that, like yourself, who brought me along the way. That's where I got my deep, deep, deep passion. I never had a passion to get in that side of the business.
All right.
I always would have loved to make a living with the great game that we love, and I'm so fortunate my journey has worked out like that. Yeah.
Well, there is the game, and then there's the inner parts of the game.
Yeah.
You know, you and I are going to be just as happy walking out into a field here in Blowing Rock and whacking it across a park to hit Mrs. Jones' fence post.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
turn around and come back. That's what they did in the early games,
Sure.
you know, along the links overseas. And it's not about the necessarily the magical places. We love going to them.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not love a day at Augusta,
Right.
or a day at Shenny,
Yeah.
or a day at Cypress?
Mm.
But you and I could go down the street and play a 9-hole dirt track,
Yeah.
and it still won't matter
No.
because we're gonna have a fun time,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have a cold beer afterwards.
Yep.
And I think you learned that.
I
you,
did.
You learned that being around the club. A guy like Mike Air, an RNA guy,
Yeah.
an Aryan guy.
Yeah.
You know, he knows the subtleties
Yeah.
of what makes a great club.
Yeah.
And spending 150 million is not it.
Right.
That's not it.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like putting a TV on the back porch at Shinnecock.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen.
No way.
It's just I don't care if the Lord's coming.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen on the
Yeah.
back porch at Shinnecock.
Yeah.
And you learn that and you develop that and when you're around that, you hear it more and more. We long to see the simple places, the Myopias, the Prestwicks of the world. You know, they're not there to cater to your every need.
Yeah.
They're here for you to play golf and have a cold beer afterwards, and
Yeah.
and then you go on with your life. And you've learned that, and you develop. And obviously, I think that carried through. You went to South Carolina. You graduated. You went into some film industry. I remember you
Yeah.
doing some stuff in the Low Country, especially.
That's right.
And then did you go? Did the Revolution idea come to you in the Low Country, or
It
while
did.
you were doing the
Yeah.
film industry?
Yeah.
Or did and I know you ended up going to New York.
Yep.
So, tell me about that.
Sure. So I went. It's such an ironic story. My dad and I went when I was at University of South Carolina. After a couple years, or after a year or so, it was time to decide what my major was going to be. And I was not a good student, very dyslexic. School was a pain in the ass for me. My grades were horrible. And I remember underneath the University of South Carolina's Coliseum, there was, on the left side, there was sports marketing and media. And on the right side, there was media arts, which was filmmaking and photography. And I went with my dad, and I went straight to sports media. Man, I'd love to have a job in sports someday. And we went in there, and the dean of the sports school there, he looked at my grades, and we talked for a minute, and he basically told me that I didn't have a shot to be able to have this as my major. And so we walked out that door, and my dad said, "What now?" And I looked across, there was media arts. I said, why don't we go try that out? And I didn't even know what media arts was at the time. Just literally just trying to. So we went there, and they were gracious. Absolutely. It was photography and filmmaking. And I remember after that going and sitting with my dad and saying, well, there's my major. It's too bad I can't do sports, or they won't let me in to do anything in the sports world. But we'll figure it out. And so I did that and graduated. And then fortunately, they were filming a movie called Forces of Nature in Beaufort, South Carolina, and the location manager was a guy named Stuart Newman, and he was renting my parents' guest house on the Point. And I had just gotten out of school, and I had a film major, and I said, I'll do anything. I'll sweep the floor, pick up, I'll do anything for a job. And he made me an assistant locations manager, which basically meant that I was, on the set from the time before anybody got there till after everybody left. So it was a grueling, grueling job. And I did that for 8 months at all the various locations that we shot, from south of the border to Beaufort to Savannah to Virginia.
South of the border.
Oh, I slept at south of the border for 3 weeks in one of their motels. Yeah, that's fancy right there. Elegant. And as you can imagine, I quickly realized, and then, I was like, okay, if I'm going to be in this film world, I need to move to Los Angeles, and that wasn't something at the time that I was interested in doing. So I went back to Beaufort and started to sell real estate, and, things went really well. It was pre-bubble, pre-crash of 2008. So things were good, and I saved up some money. And I tell this story often. It was kind of like there was a movie called The Big Short, the guys who saw this sort of bad lending going on early. And I saw it from a perspective of, I remember going to a closing in late 2007, and this family was buying a house that at the time was $500,000. It probably trades at $195 or $225,000 now. It was on the marsh, and they were getting a no money down, no 100% interest loan, and they were actually getting a check back at closing because it appraised so high, higher even than the amount they were buying it for. They were putting no money down, and their combined income was like $120,000. And it was, like I said, a $500,000 house at the time with no. And I asked them what they were going to do with that check. I was just curious, and they said they were going to go to Best Buy and buy TVs with it. And I remember distinctly, I left that closing on Ladies Island, and I drove over the bridge to my dad's office at the time, and I went upstairs, and I sat down, and I said, Dad, I'm no economist. He said, well, I realize that. But this ain't going to work. Like, what's going on out here in this world of people borrowing money, at no interest and for free, and literally you don't even have to show you have a job. I mean, this dog in my lap could have gotten a loan in 2006, 2007.
We need to introduce
Daisy, she's doing good. Hey, Dee. And so that was, that was the beginning of it. And my dad looked at me and said, well, what do you really want to do for a living? And I said, well, what I really want to do is something in golf and use film. And he said, and the internet. And he said, you got some money saved up, and now's the time to give that a try. And that's when I sort of made the transition into, starting a golf blog.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, and starting that process. So that was the
Started
catalyst.
at a blog.
Started just a little blog. Started with Don Trahan, who was a local South Carolina instructor, selling DVDs out of my house across the street from Secession. I bought one of, I think Wilson owns it now, over the original property. I can't remember the Secession member that owned it at one time. The Red Roof House. Lucian owned it.
Exactly, Augusta.
Lucian owned it. That's exactly right.
Cheers, Lucian.
Yep. And sorry about that, Lucian. I should have remembered that. And so that thing, I started to learn internet marketing, and Google had just really gotten going, and so did YouTube at the time. And man, I started selling, I remember I sold 1 or 2 DVDs the first couple days. Then I sold, 3 or 4 DVDs after that. Then the next day I didn't sell any. I was
All
like,
online.
online. But then I started selling 20 a day, 30 a day, 100 a day. And my entire house was getting filled with DVDs and boxes. And the UPS guy was coming 3 times a day. And
You're loading them up.
I'm loading them up.
In a box.
And I'm paying for online advertising with Google on my credit card. And I'd spend $4, $5, $6, $7,000 in a day, and I'd sell $12,000 worth of DVDs. And at 12:01 at night, the merchant account from the online store would pay my bank the money. I would then, at 12:02, I would pay American Express bill, and we'd run it back the next day. And I'd do that every single night. I was kiting the money through American Express. And
Day to day.
yeah, and paying it off, charge it back, paying it literally every 24 hours. And if there was a bank holiday, I would call American Express and say, don't let me run this thing until Tuesday. I'll pay you first thing in the morning. So then in 2010, I said, what if I could stream this, video streaming, and people would buy it. They'd get it instantly. There'd be no shipping, and they could start working on their golf swing right away. And that was in January of 2010. By March of 2010, in the month of March 2010, I sold $1.2 million of streaming golf instruction.
Now it's kicking.
In the month.
Now
Now the mind starts going, and I did what I think is probably the hardest thing, but made the most sense at the time, and to this day is without question what helped lead to the success and the path that I'm on, rather. And that was April 20th, 2010. I woke up and said, all right, I've got something here that I can build into something significant. But I don't know if I can do it in my hometown with the golf course right there and the boys wanting to grab happy hour at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. With
Dinners.
yeah, with that, with the golf course being right across the thing, where I could go throw it over my shoulder at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and play every day of the week.
And a fine player, by the way.
Thanks.
Solid scratch.
Yeah,
Solid.
and get comfortable with the game. So I moved. Literally 2 days later, I moved to New York City with 2 bags, my golf clubs, and nowhere to stay. I stayed in the Gramercy Park Hotel for about 5 nights till I found it. My idea was, let's go up to New York City and sort of figure things out for a few months, and that led to eight
Because
years.
of media connections, did you know anybody up there?
Not really. I honestly said I'm gonna move up there and meet the right people. And lo and behold, I mean, it's unbelievable the people that I met and the paths that opened and the opportunity. I never raised much money because I didn't have to. I did a friends and family round at one point so they could have a little piece of it, but it was way less than $1 million. And hell, we paid them a coupon, meaning a monthly sort of dividend, and we never even used the money. It was just to include people that were helped me along the way.
That was 2010.
I started in 2010. 2011 is when it really caught fire. And I started selling golf equipment and golf training. And what happened, which was really fortunate to me, is so in 2010, TaylorMade made the R11 driver, the first white driver.
Something about TaylorMade.
Yeah. They made the first white driver, and in 2010 and 2011, no, excuse me, in 2011, they sold 1.6 million drivers. Now, to give the people who are watching an idea, a really popular driver, call it the, Sim driver by TaylorMade or the, Callaway Epic, a really popular one, hugely successful, or a big Titleist one. If they move 300,000 units, it's a blockbuster of a, they're very happy. This did 5 times that. So what happened was, it was an interesting time in the golf business. You'll remember it. They started to make a driver every 2 or 3 months, right? Their product cycle ramped, and because theirs did, everybody followed them except 2 companies, Ping and Titleist. Right. They stuck to their guns and they said, we're not going to do that. Right. But what happened is, right after that, the bottom dropped out of the market, and there was huge backflows of golf clubs. So I had this massive golf database, and I flew out to Carlsbad, and I stayed in a crappy hotel for about 10 days. And I knocked on every door, and I sat in waiting rooms trying to get meetings, and finally, on about the 7th or 8th day, somebody at Cleveland Golf took a meeting with me. And they took me back into the warehouse at Cleveland Golf. And I remember, it looked like all I can describe it, if you ever saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they put the tomb at the end of it in this massive, massive warehouse. Yes. And it was full of golf clubs. And I looked at the president at the time, and I said, what are those? And he said, he goes, that's our latest driver. It hadn't sold worth a darn. I said, well, how many of them do you have? And he goes, well, hell, we haven't gotten them back from the retailers, but I have 9,000 units sitting right here. I said, well, let me ask you something. I said, if I can't pay you today for these drivers, but I can shoot a video. I got a guy out in the car. And I said, could you sell me these drivers for $100 a unit, and I'll pay you in 7 days, and I'll take all 9,000 of them from you, and but I can only pay you $100 a unit, and if you let me, I won't advertise it on the internet. You won't see a sign for it. You won't see an ad. Nobody will see this. I'm going to send it to my database of people at Revolution Golf. And the guy looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, and if I could do that, I'll pick them up in 7 days in a U-Haul or a bus, or I'll have something here. He said, absolutely. So I stayed and hunkered down in Carlsbad. I did the video, put the email together, and 3 days later, I brought him a check for $900,000. I'd sold every single one of them. And so then I had,
Taylor, that doesn't get any better
yeah,
than that.
so
That's
no.
so good.
And he said, what do you mean? I said, they're all gone. And I had struck a deal with a golf store down the street that had a big warehouse. I went to them that week and said, hey, I'm going to bring 9,000 clubs in. I'm going to pay you $2 a piece to ship these things. I'll pay for the boxes, and I'll pay your people for it. Are you interested in doing this for me? And they said, heck yeah. I can make $20,000 off the deal in a weekend.
Right.
So we moved them all down there.
So they shipped them all at the same time.
Literally,
You had
I had a huge 18-wheeler move them 5 miles. They were all sold. I had all the sales stuff, and they just pack and picked them all day long, and we got them out of there. Spent about 3 weeks there, but made a ton of money. But more importantly, I had a case that
up the model.
opened up the model, and now I could go talk to everybody. Everybody would talk to me. All of a sudden, they were knocking on my door, and that's what we did for 2011 and 2012. I bet I sold. Well, I know I sold about almost $50 million worth of golf equipment in that sort of fashion. Unclogged their channels, didn't mess with map, and became somebody that kept my word in their business to help them sell stuff. And
they're all sitting on stuff.
they're all sitting on stuff and that they're not going to make money off of. And the way it works with the retailers is the retailers can send the stuff back to them for most cases. So it created,
Just a few companies.
except for a few companies. But most of them will do that. So that catapulted us too as this place where and it wasn't crap equipment. It was just it got caught in this crazy product cycle. And so it allowed us to be able to sell, have these success stories that were.
Let me interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
That cycle really confused the consumer, didn't it?
It maddened. It made the consumer mad.
Correct. That was a mistake.
Huge mistake, and it was maddening. I mean, these people. Remember, this is 2011, and people were paying $500 for the greatest driver that'll help you gain 17 yards, and 3 months later there was another one. I mean, the grip wasn't even dirty, and they were saying that that driver's okay, but this new one, you got to have this new one.
That's just
It was a
taking
great.
advantage.
It was
of a great situation, and I guess I can sort of understand it.
Yeah.
Because we're all salesmen to a degree, but you need to be a little more long viewed than that.
That's right. And so we started doing basically at Revolution Golf, we would make these mini infomercials on products that we vetted. I can look the camera in the eye and go to bed every night that everything we sold is stuff that was good. We thought were good quality products. We sold everything from, golf clubs to training aids to Kent wool golf socks. Sure. Everything that was just a quality product. People didn't, because what happened, the other thing that I was fortunate enough about is the Golf Channel, which later acquired us, they used to have this inventory, TV ads. And you'll remember Adams Golf. They got their start there. There was Olamore Tri-Metal. Hell, they sold $300 million worth of 3-woods. Yeah.
Hot 3-woods.
Yeah, hot 3-woods.
Same with Barney Adams.
Same with Barney Adams.
Phenomenal.
They all got their start with Golf Channel. In 2011.
So clean. Remember those faces?
Oh yeah, you played one forever.
I played one until it got stolen.
Yeah.
I never could replace it.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago.
I
I'm
know.
still looking for it.
I know. I remember yours.
Yeah. Skill shaft.
Yeah.
Got it at Pine Valley. Barney dumped off a bunch of stuff at
that's right.
Charlie Rodenbush and picked it up, went out and shot 67 or 68 at Pine Valley, and then had a run at the course record at Marion the next day with that 3-wood.
That 3-wood was amazing.
Tight. It was kryptonite. I don't know what it was.
I flew 2 years ago. I flew to Shady Oaks to have lunch with him, just to.
Good egg.
Oh,
Great egg.
God!
I met
You
him.
and him. If you and him had a bottle of wine, you might talk for 20 hours straight. You would love this man.
I met him, but I never got a chance to sit with him. and talk with him.
Unbelievable. Though his story is like no other. But yeah, so but back to my point, is all these companies started with infomercial space. Well, in 2011, Golf Channel was bought by NBC Sports. And a big deal, and Mr. Palmer and They moved on from the business. Joe Gibbs and Mr. Palmer were the primary owners of the business. And when NBC bought it, they said, "Well, we don't want infomercials. We sell commercials all the time to Budweiser and Tide and all these other companies. We're just going to put that in." So now all of a sudden, small golf companies had nowhere to get their start to sell their stuff at an affordable price. So we just sort of filled that void. Yeah. And
It rocked.
It rocked, man. It was awesome. It was so much fun. I mean, I can remember like at the PGA show. I love Kent Wool Socks, and they were a company from Greenville, textile company. And the man,
Quality product.
great product. And the man was a young fella. He unfortunately passed a few years ago. But I remember going to his booth, and I had my camera guys with me, and I had a sheet in front of me. And I said, "Hey, my name's Justin Tupper. I have a website called Revolution Golf." He said, "Yeah, I've heard of it." I said, "Can we shoot a quick video? I'd like to interview about your product, and I'd like to do a product and offer your product to my people." And he said, "Sure, no problem. I'd love that." And we struck a little deal at the table, literally handshake deal. And we were going to sell I remember we sold 6 pairs of socks for $97. And they're usually, they're high-end socks. Really nice. Great socks. And they have, if they shrink or you have a blister, you'll get all your money back. Just a great company. We shot it. We went back that night. We worked our tails off in the hotel in Orlando. Doing the copy, putting it all together, getting with his team about inventory. He's like, "Oh man, we got more socks that you could sell." I said, "All right." Then 2 days later, that was on the first day of the PGA show. On the last day of the PGA show, I walked over to his booth and they were packing up. I said, "How'd you do?" I said, "Well, we sold 11,000 pairs." He goes, "Of what?"
What?
Yeah. I said, "Of your sock." Yeah, he goes, "Okay, all right, well," and he goes, "We got that many," and he said, "I can get the first, 8,000 out this week, and I'll need about 5 days on the next, 4,000 pair, or 3,000 pair." And I said, "Oh, well, that's good." And so
how'd you handle that? Did he ship them or did you?
he shipped all.
Okay, so you didn't.
He shipped them all. Yeah. But then those were the stories I got to be able to help people and tell them. And they were incredible customers for a long time, and just got to really. There was such a cool feeling to be able to help golf entrepreneurs, because they're guys like you and I and people watching. They love the game, and most of it starts off as a little hobby, a little trinket they have. They say, "Hell, can I sell a couple of these? Can I sell a couple of those?" And next thing you know, they've got a business that they don't know how to market, but they want to get it, and it's a good product that real golfers will love. I mean, hell, I've got Kent Wool socks on right now. I wear them every single day of my life, and they're great. So, that was really, really fun.
So let's advance it up. At what point did someone, the Golf Channel, start approaching you?
2015, they approached me from the first time. Will McIntosh, who reached out through LinkedIn. And it was an interesting time. 2015, we were starting to become very disruptive because we were starting to get advertising money. I mean, Titleist, I flew up to Fairhaven, I was living in New York, drove and met with Peter Broom in 2015, and they spent a nice size money with us. And now they didn't have more marketing budget, so they were pulling that budget from somebody, and it was probably the Golf Channel at the time. So now we were starting to be disruptive to the traditional golf outlets. And Will McIntosh reached out from Golf Channel in 2015, and I swear within 3 weeks of that, Jerry Tardy from Digest had reached out to me. One of the guys at the PGA Tour. Yeah, oh yeah, great man. Those guys, they had all reached. Everybody started poking around, saying, "Who is this? What is there an opportunity? They're ahead of the curve." Magazine business was on decline. They were needing to make a pivot to digital. Will was watching us make zillions of dollars in stuff that they used to make money in at Golf Channel.
Interesting.
And the world was just changing. And so, and the biggest thing that was changing is Comcast, who's the cable company that owns NBC. They gave everybody a mandate in 2015, 6 years ago. Hey, we need to get into subscription businesses that don't depend on linear, what they call TV, right? Cord cutting, cable cutting. They could see it coming, and they still see it coming. It's still happening every day. Luckily, Comcast is the world's largest internet provider, so that's been their plan B that's worked out incredibly well for them. But they saw it coming, and so we had a subscription business where people paid $9 a month for a bunch of video content and other perks. And so we kind of fit what they were looking for. But we did the song and dance for 2 years. And it wasn't...
Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, and it wasn't... No one was being greedy. It was just about, are we the right fit? Are they the right fit? Is it the right time for us? Is it the right time for them?
Hard for you.
It was.
It had to be, complicated. Because
it was.
You had something you loved.
Yeah.
You probably, knowing you, probably didn't like the fact that you were being disruptive.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that probably helped that
Yeah.
decision some.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that had to be hard.
No, it was hard. It was fun. It was at the same time. And then, I remember I flew to Beaufort for Christmas 2016. And I landed in Savannah, and I looked at my phone, and there was a message from Will McIntosh. And then shortly thereafter, I went up to Philadelphia and met, in the big Comcast towers, and we presented to their people and put a deal together. And in July 21st, 2017, they acquired Revolution Golf, which started my new career, which is, we turned Revolution Golf into something called Golf Pass. We partnered with Rory McIlroy and his team at Rory McIlroy Inc. We added some other features, and we worked closely with our business called Golf Now, which is the Tee Times business that fellow Secession member Mark Burris worked on for many, many years. Yeah, and led them to massive success. And so it fit right in. And now, while Revolution Golf doesn't exist in name anymore, it does within Golf Pass. Our subscribers are Golf Pass members, and it's growing like crazy. I mean,
now you're Golf Channel employee or NBC employee?
I'm an NBC Sports employee, and I work on content. So anything that's on Golf Channel TV or any of our website stuff that's not tour tournament coverage, I oversee. And then I work heavily within strategy, which is, what are we going to buy next? What are we buying? What companies are we looking at? How are we going to continue to grow our business in strategic ways? What are things that we can fold into Golf Pass through acquisition that makes sense? And so just strategically, how do we look at our businesses? Because the business I work in now it's very, it's very internet based, and it's still lots of content. And, I get to do lots of great stuff.
Moving around, you get to go to tournaments, you get to go
to all the majors when I want to. Ryder Cup we cover. Yeah. I'm going to the U.S. Open next week at Torrey Pines. I'm not going to the Open Championship, but I'll be over there probably a month next year when it's at St. Andrews. Right. Yeah. And, the Ryder Cup is will be a unique experience. And
when you're there, it's not just meet and greet.
We do a lot of hospitality at them. We take big clients and partners of ours of all sorts, and
so
it is meet and greet. Yeah, no, I'm not hoofing any cameras or any of that stuff, but I'm taking care of clients. I am wining and dining them to some degree and having a good time, but it's an amazing job because you get to give these people who love the game of golf too this incredible access to, we'll take them to the production trailer, we'll take them to the set of what we're shooting, they'll meet Randall, they'll talk with those people, and depending who they are, we'll get, Rory will meet them and stuff. It's fun to have that kind of sort of access to those tournaments. And
it's a nice life.
It's great. No, again, I'm fortunate. I mean, so fortunate, but it all goes back. I mean, I can sit here without one shadow of a doubt, not even an inkling. If that little club on Gibbs Island didn't exist, my path would be very different. Like, I don't know that many other people that you sit down and have your talks with, they all love Secession, and many of them have been saviors. I mean, I saw you talk to Mr. Droughty
Right.
and the list of people you've talked to and the people that place has affected their lives and in different ways. The Levine boys, I mean, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, look, their lives are massively affected. So, like, I'm not saying I'm the only person. I just think that for me, I mean, I can draw a direct line, at any place where I am in the world to the reason I'm there is
Little Gibbs Island.
Little Gibbs Island. I mean, I can say that without one shadow. And look, it's
Cheers to
yeah.
secession.
Cheers to secession. Absolutely.
God bless
Yep.
them all.
Yep.
To everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, it is it has a resonance.
Yeah.
It has a old style tradition that's fading.
It is.
In today's world. It's fading. It's
Yeah.
still out there.
Yeah.
In those wonderful corners of the world, the
Yeah.
Prestwicks of the world, the Garden Cities of the world. It's still there, but it's fading, and
Yeah.
it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But it was never about the golf course. It was
No.
about the game.
Yes.
It was a spectacular golf course. Mr. Devlin,
Yeah.
just did an incredible job. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
that. But it was more than that, and
Yeah.
that inner knowledge of the finer things of the game, the
Yeah.
simpler things of
Yeah.
the game in a lot of ways. It's the simplicity of those clubs that turns you to the game in a different way than just cosmetically.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the periphery, it was something deep in you, and you brought it out, and therefore found a way to enjoy it and ultimately be very successful.
Yeah, no question. And you know what? I always viewed it, right or wrong, and not patting myself on the back, but like as a responsibility. Like I love the game that much. I built a business that started to have success and touch millions of people's lives in golf, and now it's a responsibility because just like the way the culture and the feeling that you and your crew created for 30 years at Secession, it's that same responsibility type feeling that I had in many ways. I mean, look, I look back and this life in golf for me has been all over the planet, every single major championship you can imagine, every golf course you can go to. I've met every single player, spent time with every single person from Mr. Palmer to Tiger Woods. And through those travels and all that, you wear a Secession shirt and you see people. And without a doubt, 100% of the time, they don't talk about a certain hole at Secession. They don't talk about a shot at Secession. They talk about what a magical place is normally the first words that come out of their mouth. Like my wife could be sitting there and you might not say a word about the game of golf when you talk about Secession.
Correct.
You might not talk about any of that, but so people are like, what are you guys talking about? Yeah, it's just a place, right? It's a place that was special, that's been brought together by lots of great people and lots of discipline in the vision, and it's touched a lot of people, and it's been one of the highlights of my life without question.
Well, to tie all that up, the millions, as you said, that you touched through Revolution Golf. There it is, boys and ladies, right there.
Yeah.
You may not have ever known that face,
Yeah.
but this was it.
Yeah.
And it's now branched into something so much bigger, and
Yeah.
I mean it's still there in its core.
It
with
is.
Golf Pass, but
Yeah.
those endless nights of boxing up, and I mean what a wonderful story that
Yeah.
is. And you touched a ton of people, and it thrills me to hear you say, the inner sanctum stuff of the game that you learned a bit at Secession, and you learn it traveling to all the great places as well. There's no doubt about
Yeah.
that. But you brought home to a lot of that early in your youth with just a very simple club there. but you touched a lot of lives, and
Thanks.
to all the folks, this is the reason why. You may
Thanks.
not have a face, but you communicated with them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know. There's so much to talk about. I don't want to be here all day.
Yeah.
We certainly could be. We just came off a weekend. Today's the 7th of May. We just came off.
June.
June.
Yep.
And we just watched an incredible situation evolve at Muirfield with John Rahm being taken out.
Yeah.
And we saw the Women's U.S. Open
Yeah.
at
Olympic.
which I haven't played. It just looks cool. I know
It
Will
is.
Hutter, the
Yeah.
director there, was on Hilton Head for many years, and we chat. I need to get there.
Yeah.
Cyprus is the one at the top of my list.
Yeah. Got to do that.
So I have to see it. But let's talk briefly about that. Tell me what were your feelings?
Yeah.
When the whole Rahm thing evolved. Let's spend a few minutes there. Tell me about that. It's kind of hard to go past that because it's unlike almost anything we've seen.
Yeah, look, the Rahm thing, I hope this is not something we'll ever have to deal with again in our lifetimes. I mean, for sure, where you have a player who is literally at the top of the game, playing as great as anybody, actually just blitzing the field, and then having to withdraw with an illness that has been plaguing the entire globe for a long time. But it's such a weird thing, Pro. I mean, it's an illness, but I get, and I'm super compassionate of people who've lost lives and understood. But like this guy's test positive to it, but he's at the most elite. Like he's blitzing the field, so he's clearly doesn't feel bad. So he doesn't know that he's got something going on like that, and then to be pulled from it. The tournament, it's unspeakable, and it's shocking that it's happening in June 2021. I would have thought we'd have had this situation already.
I think that's exactly right. To me,
Yeah.
I understand. We talked about it off there. Why he wasn't vaccinated completely doesn't make any sense. A world traveler, we travel overseas.
Yeah.
You're crazy if you don't get a shot.
Right.
Okay. You
Right.
get the thing just so you have access.
Yeah.
That's a problem unto itself. But to me, here we are, June 2021. I understand that tour policy for maybe June 2020.
Right.
Once they started bringing 20, 30, 40,000 people
Yep.
on the golf course, you would think they'd modify that a little bit because things are opening up. But what a tragedy! If anybody who follows my writings, I pick Rahm for every event.
Yeah.
He is the freaking beast.
Yeah, he is.
He is a beast. I picked him at Augusta. He's going to win Augusta.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's any. He'll shoot 25 under at Augusta one of these days.
Yeah.
He is extraordinarily talented, and it's not going to be the end of his world. I was talking to who was I talking to? Oh, Anderson last night, our tour boy.
Yeah.
Which by the way, he said if you're not going to play Secession anymore, you need to sell your membership.
I haven't been there in a while. I'm not selling, and I haven't been there in a while, but that's another story.
I told you I'd get that one in, chicken.
Yeah.
I told you I'd get that one in. I told Chicken, I said, Cantley.
Patrick Cantley, yeah.
Who won?
Yeah.
Should, and phenomenal putter. One of the genuinely top 5 putters I've seen, and that goes to Crenshaw,
Yeah, he's
and that
good.
goes to Lauren Roberts, and that goes to Faxon. This guy's that level putter. I said he should figure out what he won. I don't know what he won.
Yeah.
And then he should figure out the difference between first and second, and send Rahm the difference.
I agree. I don't think Rahm's going to miss the light bill next month, but
No,
I agree.
No, but
Yeah.
dear
I know.
Lord, what an extraordinary turn of events, and I hate it. Rules are rules.
Yeah. By the way,
I want to look at the rules.
do you see that you might not have seen this? I read this morning. The U.S. sports books, so the betting operations in Las Vegas and the states that are legal, paid the people who would bet on John Braun.
Oh, that's
They
cool.
paid them out. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty good. That's the right thing to do.
like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's
Well,
like
he
he had a
got out of the game again.
no. He's like he had a 6-shot lead. You guys got screwed on that one. We don't have to, but we're gonna do it. I mean, it was smart.
Well done gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. I'm glad you said that. The other event of the week
Yeah.
Lexi Thompson loses coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
That was sad to watch.
It was terrible
really
to watch.
I enjoy watching women's golf. It's almost more relatable
Totally.
to
Totally.
It's like I'm a huge soccer fan.
Yeah.
And many thanks to NBC as a huge Premier League.
Oh yeah.
I'm an Arsenal boy.
Yeah.
What they the coverage with they're showing not only the football but
yeah.
everything golf. There's such a strength there that and I forget where I'm going.
Well,
Where were we talking?
you just think it's more relatable watching the women play, right?
I love watching the women play.
Yeah.
Their short games are better.
Yep.
For the most part. I'm amazed at the Asian dominance.
Yep.
Even the Asian Americans.
Yep.
I've said for a while the culture.
Yeah.
The culture of it.
Very disciplined.
They're disciplined. They're quiet minds.
Yeah.
They don't run around with their hair on fire like Americans tend to do. And I watched that one unfold, and she was slipping, and it was her. She had 5-shot lead with, I think, on the 8th or 9th hole.
I know. And
the driver, abandoned her. She had to drive it in the fairway on 17.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look.
That's a tough one to look at.
Here's the thing. You and I talked about this before the camera. It's really, really hard to win any golf tournament.
Exactly.
Then you throw a major and the pressure on there. And Lexi is a wonderful woman. But look, she's, the putt on 17 and 18 were awful.
Not good.
I mean, the putt on 18 was downhill from 11 feet. She left it 3 feet short. I mean, that's a guy at a member guest that's choking under pressure. So it's tough to watch. And then you missing it. She's missing it left, which is her miss. And it was just tough. I mean, it was tough. And that's it's just hard to win, man.
Well, they talked at length about her piece and what she's working with Martin
Hall. Yeah.
And God bless her. I hope that's the case. I mean, she's a money machine.
Yeah.
She's probably the most likable person on the tour.
Yeah.
And certainly right up there with most likable in golf, probably.
Yeah. No,
so
she's wonderful.
She's going to crank out plenty of money, and I just hope she's okay.
That's
Those things can devastate, but she's at a point where she is comfortable. I heard the stat she's played in 50 majors.
She has since she was 14.
26 years old.
Since she was 14, she hasn't missed one.
Stunning.
She's unbelievable. I mean, she's world class. The other thing that that we have to you have to sort of think about, and especially for you, and you saw it from Nicholas, and you saw it from Tiger. But a 5-shot lead in majors, you can spit the bit on that with no problem. Now Tiger and Nicholas did not.
No.
Tiger did. I mean, they didn't. So now you think that there's 18 plus 15. There's 33 majors of the guys who won it that there was no shot they were spitting the bit. But it just happens all the time.
Well, you probably had this happen to yourself. You're a good player. One of the most difficult, and Ron would have run into this. One of the most difficult situations is when you have a big lead.
Oh yeah.
I can remember leading one event, a section event, by 6 going into the last day, and I really felt that night that I had really nothing to gain and everything to lose by playing the next day because they basically given you the tournament.
Yeah.
Now Rom probably would have held on certainly.
Yeah.
But she had that massive lead. Then all of a sudden, I think what undid her. I don't know if you saw any of it. She chunked a chip shot on 11.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, things began to melt down. She started putting from off the fringes.
Yeah.
Instead of chipping, and you could just see it slipping away. So it's hard to watch. But God bless you.
Yeah.
Lexi, keep playing. Head up.
Yeah.
I
tell you a quick story about the lead, and I had a conversation with Rory about this. In 2018, Rory played in the final round of the Tour Championship at East Lake with Tiger Woods, who eventually won it. And Rory won it the next year, in 2019. And I talked to Rory right after that final round because it was the crowd came down behind Tiger, the sea of people. And it was like maybe a week or two after it I was with Rory. And I said, well, what'd you think? He said, I've never learned so much in a round of golf in my entire life. I said, what do you mean that? He said he had a 3-shot lead at the start of the day, and he never put himself in a situation. He said he teed it about this high off every tee ball, squeezed a little cut out there. He goes, he hit it 270 off the tee all day in play. He said he hit it to the fat of every single green. He didn't short side himself one time. He said, I watched the great, maybe arguably the greatest player in the world that's world's ever seen from 135 yards hit it in the middle of a green.
Never took a chance.
In the discipline of it. He said everything was like, he goes, in the discipline of it for 18 holes. He shot 2 under. He said he was playing beautifully, but it didn't matter. He still hit it in the center of the green and still squeeze cut every drive out there. He just knew how to not lose.
So it was so. We all were so fortunate to watch
Yeah.
him play. It's remarkable. I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
It's gone very quiet on him. I just
Yeah.
hope he's physically okay. I could care less if he ever plays again.
Yeah.
He is perhaps the greatest ever. That argument will go on.
Yeah.
I think Tiger had bigger, harder fields to beat.
I think he had harder field, and I think he had a time period that he played. He was more dominant.
Correct. Nicklaus just knew how to win.
They both have minds like nobody ever. The greatest minds
I heard
ever.
a great story not too long ago. Confirmed it at Baltusrol.
Yeah.
He's playing the 15th in 67 with Palmer. Playing the 15th par 4 going up the hill and the 16th par 3 coming back.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Angelo on the bag, and he walks over to the right side of the fairway and looks at 16.
Yeah.
Comes back, plays his second on the 15. As they're walking up, he tells Angelo, he said, whatever I tell you, give me 5 iron on the 16.
Yeah, I think I've heard.
Palmer's close.
Yeah.
They're in the penultimate group.
Yeah.
He's close, but the group behind him, I think the guy behind him is closer. Makes par on 15, goes to 16, throwing grass around, studying a little more than normal. Says, give him the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Angelo
And he
gives
hits
them
5.
Knocks it in the middle of the green. Palmer hit 4 over.
Yeah.
Separated.
Plays
That's
a different
the mind.
game.
That's the
Yeah.
mind. And you know who I think has the same mind? Speed.
Yeah, he no question.
I think he has that same
Yeah.
Palmer-esque personality with a sharp mind.
Yeah.
For the game. Now I don't think fundamentally he's a sound.
Yeah.
So it's gonna ebb and flow with him. I don't quite get all the chatter with him. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily a quiet mind, whereas
Right.
Nicklaus and Tiger had very quiet minds.
Super quiet
But
mind.
to be able, I got to see Nicklaus and Tiger play, and I think ultimately you're going to never resolve that one.
No, I don't think you are either.
And I hope Tiger can still get out and
Yeah.
be the ambassador of the game. I know that back is really, really fragile, and that wreck didn't help at all. Hopefully, I just want him playing.
Yeah. I hope so too. I hope for the best of him. His right ankle injury is, from people that I've talked to, it's super concerning. I mean, he's basically had to have his ankle fused, which doesn't allow much manipulation with your right ankle. And I'm no doctor. I've just talked to people, and I've heard it around the office, those conversations. I know no more than that. Tiger's camp keeps a tight lip, and I just hope he can enjoy those kids and those type things. Yeah, in life,
Be
man.
the ambassador.
And be the ambassador.
Go,
Yeah.
be around. Do what he wants to do. He deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never seen anybody.
But those guys, but back to what you're saying, they just thought their way around. They knew how to win a golf tournament. They knew they wouldn't lose a golf tournament. Put it that way.
Correct.
They just weren't going to. They were not going to lose a tournament. If someone came behind and beat them, that'd be one thing.
Correct.
But they were going to have to shoot a Sunday 65 at a major to beat Tiger Woods, and probably have to be playing with him.
And that bears out. That's the amazing stat is that Tiger never came from behind to win
No,
a major.
no,
That's really odd.
I know.
But that's the game. The game cranks out stuff like
It
that.
is, but if you look back at Tigers rounds, and I did this recently, I read an article by Mark Brody, the professor at Columbia University, about something about his Saturday scoring average in majors was incredible. I mean, 97, he shot 65 at the Masters, that separated him in that one. He did it at Pebble Beach when he won by 12. I mean, he had this amazing Saturday round. So it was always like he positioned, he plotted, he felt the place out, he understood what the course, how the course was playing, and Saturday he just pushed a button. He's like, I got all the information in, it's processed. Saturday, see ya, boys.
And that's the moving day. People talk about that.
Yeah.
Is moving.
Yeah.
Our good friend Mark Anderson. That's what he's missing right now.
Yeah.
He misses those Saturdays. He'll make cuts.
Oh yeah.
And then you shoot 63. Now all of a sudden you can win the golf tournament.
Yeah.
And yet and having watched Mark for so long now, you see that.
Right.
And that Saturday is absolutely critical. It
Yeah.
sets you up to win or top five.
Yeah.
Either one works.
Yeah.
Especially out there now.
Yeah.
Top five is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you don't win, and most of the great players know how to win.
Mm-hmm.
They're not afraid to win. They're not losing any sleep over winning. But it is Saturday, and he did it. Tell me, I love stories. You're talking about stories. Tell me, before we wrap this up, I want to get to your favorite golf courses, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time, U.S. and U.K. Ones you haven't played.
Yeah.
I'll let you think on that. But stories, and everybody loves good stories.
Yeah.
So the pressure's on.
All right, I got a pretty good one. Not a great one, but a pretty good one. And this one's so.
And we're drinking Decoy, a very nice bottle of Decoy, and it's like 7:30 in the morning.
That's right. All right, so I'll give you a couple. I've had some cool opportunities, but one of them was in 1993. I was caddying in the Heritage Pro-Am for, at the time, Vice President Dan Quayle. And, yeah, cool time. And as you can imagine, Hilton Head, it is 50 deep on every fairway. And he's playing with Bernard Langer, who had just won the Masters the week before in 93. And I'm caddying. I'm nervous as hell. It's 20 deep on the first tee. And Langer's playing the back tees, and he hits it in the middle of the fairway. And Vice President Quayle hits a great drive, and he hits it about 5 yards in front of him. And so we're walking out there. I've got a yardage book. I've never used a yardage book. And trying to figure everything out. And I listen to, I'm eavesdropping on Langer and his caddy. And his caddy says, let's do this 152. And he says, boom, hits it on the green. And I'm sitting there, and it's our turn. Vice President Quayle's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And I'm looking at the sprinkler head and the yardage book. And I said to him, he says, well, what do you think? I said, I just pull his 8-iron out, pull his 8-iron out, and I hit it. I said, I think it's this one. And he's nervous. And he hits it. Beautiful draw, pin is center as they always are in Pro-Ams. Beautiful draw in there, hits, checks up a few times, goes about 4 feet, and the crowd just erupts. In fact, I have a picture of him waving like this as he's sort of tossing me the iron.
He was a good stick.
Yeah, he was a great stick. And I'm grabbed the divot, and Langer's caddy's walking, and him and Langer are walking up. And I said to Langer's caddy, I said, hey, listen, I heard you say 153. That didn't look right to me, so I just kind of eyeballed that. I said, I don't know how far it was. And he goes, well, don't listen to us because we're in meters. I said, Jesus Christ. So thank God I didn't. They pulled the old meter trick for the European players. So thank God I didn't give Vice President Quayle that club, and he hit it on the green. So that was like an early reminder. And he went on to play an incredible round of golf. I think he shot 73 or 74, and it was just a fun day. He holed one from the fairway later in the round. It was crazy. So that was certainly pretty awesome.
Before we get to know the story, tell quickly about Rory.
Yeah.
You're close with Rory.
Yeah.
Is this a function of him just being so distracted with so many things that his games? I mean, you know the difference between number one in the world and number 150 is
Yeah.
literally saying I want to spend a little time with the family.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Is he just? I mean, he looks happy.
Yeah,
He's
he's
content, he's swinging well. I don't doubt that
yeah.
he can win.
Yeah. Look, he's happy and he's healthy, and I would say, Rory loves life. I'll tell you about Rory. He loves the game of golf.
The game.
Oh,
I sense that.
let me tell you something. Loves it. Like you and I love it. I mean, he loves the core of the game. I mean, I've played, I'm not bragging, but I've played at Orlando Country Club at 7 a.m. in the morning before a meeting at Golf Channel because Rory wanted to go out and play.
Just wants to play
Hey,
golf.
Tup, you want to go
Throw it on
play?
the shoulder
Yeah,
and go home.
yeah, you want to go play? Can we get out? Can we get somewhere? Like go quick where you can play in 2 hours before these meet. Like, loves it. So he loves the game. I think he is. Funny that we say this. Literally, I honest to God, if you said to me, and I don't know John Rahm, I don't know Phil Mickelson, but like him and Chicken have more God-given ability that come out of their bodies, make the game look easy than anybody I've ever seen. I've seen people who have better, as good a resumes as Rory, certainly have, are and aren't as good, as those guys. But nobody I've ever seen just make the game, make you go, Jesus Christ, what are they doing?
And Chicken is Anderson, who we
Yeah.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That's a nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It just looks easy for him.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I guess it's the short stick still.
So back to your question, I think he was honest with the media. He COVID was a weird time for him. He chased distance. He spent too much time in the gym, and when they came back, this guy has played golf with crowds and people cheering and the energy of it since he was 11 years old. He hasn't played a handful of. He's never played a competitive round except for coming back without the players, the people. So then that did affect him. He did chase distance. Which caused a two-way miss with his irons and other clubs to some degree. And again, this is stuff he said, and he just had a little bit of a rough patch, right? He's so talented. That win a couple weeks ago at Charlotte, C game, not B game, certainly not A, not B. That was his C game.
And that gets to what we just said about Tiger and Nicklaus.
Yeah.
He knows how to win.
Yeah.
He just knows how to win.
Yeah.
He can have his C game and still piece together what he needs to win.
Hey, Daisy, come here. Come here.
Hey, sweet pea, come here. You gonna let me pick you up?
Come here.
Come here.
Come here.
She's not gonna let me.
That's all right. She'll come to me. Come here.
Oh, come on over here.
Come here. Sir, a little puppy. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
Come here.
All
right.
And we get everything here.
Yeah.
And, I think you said you saw the Jim Faree.
Yeah, with the cat.
And the cat kept jumping up on the table. I don't care. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
This is
Daddy's
a
talking.
production. There's
That's
not
right.
6 people here. Although my makeup guy didn't quite make it.
But Rory will be fine. He's just a little hiccup, and he'll get it back.
How old now?
30,
30. Yeah. How old are you?
47. Just turned it
I was trying to remember
a couple weeks
that.
ago. 47.
So I met you at 17. 30
Yeah,
years.
30 years.
I love it.
30 years. Yeah.
I'll tell a story with you. You sent your production crew over one day to do the copy, the video for the flyover for the club.
Yeah.
And your guy came in, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
I know.
I had my jacket on.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting on the porch. And
Yeah.
He said, well, let's sit right here. I pop it in a rocker, and he goes. I said, well, what do you want? He said, well, just start at the first hole and
Right.
wing it. Just give me a description of the hole.
Yeah.
I said, all right, so off we go.
Yeah.
I go 1 through 18.
Yeah.
Not a glitch.
No.
Not a slow. Not
Yeah.
a cut. Not in the middle.
Yeah.
I love telling the story to everybody that tells me they've seen the video.
Yeah.
And
It's on the website still.
he is it still on the website?
Yeah. Yes.
And,
Assassin's website.
and so, we wrap it up. 18th hole. Say my piece and
Yeah.
turns it off, and your boy goes, "Damn."
yeah. It doesn't surprise
Bro,
me.
you did the wrong
Yeah,
calling, man. You did the
yeah.
wrong
No,
calling.
nobody. Yeah, he's not used to one-take wonders, especially 18 different holes. And if you go back and watch it, you're like, because I have friends that are like, "Good God, pro!" I said, "That's not scripted. That's just sit down for a second." Didn't 5 seconds before he started, he didn't know what he was doing, meaning he hadn't been given instruction.
No. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And with all of our contacts around the world, I get to sit, crack open a bottle of wine with
Yeah.
the RNA Pro, the
Yeah.
Jimmy Farmer, or Colin Sinclair, Carnoustie, and now Nairn, or the caddies, or
Yeah.
hotel owner, or heavens,
Yeah.
restaurateur, Graham Dalton,
Yeah.
restaurant in St. Andrews. I mean, I'll sit with any of these people.
Yeah.
That's fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's a kick. All right, give me one more good story before we split.
Well, not necessarily a golf story. It is a golf story, but yeah, it is a golf story. But one of I have been fortunate enough to play a lot of great golf courses. I think in the United States, the only course that I'm missing that's sort of in and out of the top 10, and I have a dear friend who's a member, I just haven't played Sandhills. I mean, it's literally down to that. I mean, God, I've had the pleasure to play so many great places. And I've been across the pond. I've been across the pond with my family and friends, and been across with you and the boys. Amazing trip. But one round of golf I always remember is that day after we played Machrihanish, you and we went to that course. I don't even know the name of it.
Sal.
What was it?
Yeah.
People always ask me what was one of the.
I don't think I can remember the name.
I don't know. So one of my favorite
We just heard
rounds.
it was a links course.
One of
We
my
wanted to go see
favorite, most memorable rounds. I don't know the name of the golf course. It goes back to how you started this entire video. That you and I just we go hit it at that fence post and walk back.
Correct.
That's just what we like about golf.
Correct.
I'd never played a place with cows on the course or with wire around the greens. You got to like duck under electric wire so the cows don't go on it. And we were worn out. All of us were
It was
worn
kind
out.
of a beastly walk. Remember, it
my
almost killed us.
I remember.
Said it was links,
I
and then it
remember.
went up.
I remember because the way we ended up there is the caddies at Machrihanish were like, "Come over to our place," and so we were like, "All right," and they were like, "It's a links course," and Pro says, "A links course, that's gonna be an easy walk." My God, remember that? Oh,
I
it
think
was.
I bagged one hole. I think there was
There was a tee up there. I thought I was gonna have to give Pat Ryan mouth to mouth, which was not gonna be
That's right.
a pleasurable thing to get up to that tee. And I think you did just kicked one out in the fairway.
I don't think I made it.
But, when you think about this great game we play, one of my most memorable rounds I've ever played, and like I said, I've been so fortunate to play these prestigious places from Augusta National to Pine Valley to Shinnecock to wherever, Cypress and in between. That day, not even people always ask me, what course was that? Don't know. I don't have a clue. Don't know that I'll ever see it again or be back in that area. But I mean, I'll be back in that area, but I couldn't find that course if you had to. But I remember that day and that walk and those hills and the laughs we had and so damn much and how good that beer was afterward because we were 36 holes into a long day. And all with that beer tastes good and that bed felt better. I mean, that's a damn good day.
That is the essence of the game. You can't have a better story than that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about.
One of my favorite rounds of golf. I don't know the name of the course.
Right.
I had to remind you of it, but like with all the rounds you played, but that one left a mark on me. Like that was just so cool.
Well, and I remember it had a real little dinky clubhouse.
It was like
and
a little cinder block.
Bribe somebody.
Yeah.
To give us a couple of beers.
Yeah, 100%. It was locked down and
sitting out there, you could oversee the water.
Yeah, it was spectacular. Spectacular little village around it.
And that's the nature of the game.
Yeah.
That's where most of the game lies. And we've had the pleasure of seeing Augusta and playing.
Oh yeah.
We've played. You've had an affiliation with Shinnecock forever.
Just great family friends. Yeah, it's the best championship course I've ever played.
Something extraordinary. But then again, we'll go play any place.
Yeah.
If there's a 9-holer down the street here, I don't care.
Yeah.
All I care is about being with you.
No
Being-
question.
Being with friends and being and
Yeah.
having a cold beer afterwards and playing for $5.
No
You know,
question.
it's not about the game.
No.
It's not about a gamble. I mean, not about the gamble. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not about making money for crying
Right.
out loud. It's just about being with buds. And
It's
that
about
is the
laughing
essence.
and being with buddies and then telling the stories years later like we just did.
We just did.
Just 2 seconds ago.
And I can't think of a better way to wrap it up than that.
Good way to wrap it up.
You
It's
are
been a
delight.
pleasure, my friend. I mean, you're one of my favorite people that God ever put on the planet, and I mean that with every bit of my being.
You're very kind. It has been a delight to watch you. I'm so proud,
Thank you.
you know, of what you've done and what you will continue to do.
Yeah.
It has been extraordinary to watch, and we've shared a lot of great things together, and we still have some
Yep. Well, no question.
other things to share.
There is
before it's
no
over.
no question.
God bless.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
Thanks, guys, for looking.
Cheers,
ahead.
guys.
Cheers.